Welcome. We have Michael Bradley on the soccer ladder with Lee and me today. We are very excited.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you guys. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Let me start this way. I told a couple of people that we had you coming on as a guest, and everyone said the same word. It was like a one-word answer. Do you want to know what that word was?
Ooh, yeah.
So everyone said legend.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Very nice. So we are happy to have the legend on with us today. You've had quite the career. You had a 20-year career, is that correct, in the soccer world?
That sounds about right. We'll go with that.
You turned pro at 16. You played in Europe. You played in the 2010 and 2014 World Cup. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You played in the MLS. You won an MLS Cup with Toronto FC. And this is crazy. You had 151 USMN national team caps. That's crazy.
151?
151.
Holy.
And I heard that you speak like five languages.
I do okay with languages. I've lost, they're not all as sharp as they should be or that they used to be, but I'm pretty good with languages.
I like how you were nonchalant about your resume, but you spoke up to the languages.
Because when some people read that and they think, "Wow, you're like perfectly fluent in five languages," and that's not that. I can't. I got to be honest about that. So, my Italian's still really good. My German is not bad. It would come back quickly if I ever went back there. I've lost a good amount of my Dutch. My Spanish is at a pretty basic level. It's close enough to Italian that I can get by with certain things, but um, that's why I have to always add the asterisk whenever anybody mentions five languages.
Wow. Well, I can relate. I took Spanish in like high school, maybe college. I don't remember. But yeah, I think I retained like one word. So I'm no better. So I started the soccer ladder because I'm a soccer mom and Liam's in his first, just finishing up his first year with Red Bull Academy. It's an amazing journey, but it's an overwhelming journey. And there's like a lot of questions. So I thought, what better to hear from, coaches, pro players, people like you that have been on this journey. And now you're a parent to someone on this journey. So welcome. And we look forward to hearing like all your tips and thoughts and all the goodness.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, so you grew up in a soccer family. Your dad, Bob Bradley, is a well-known coach. How did that environment shape your early relationship with the game?
I was lucky that I grew up in the game. My dad, when I was born, was coaching at Princeton University. Um, it was the soccer landscape in the United States at that time was very different than it was now. But for me, I was around the game all the time. I was on the side of his training fields. I was in the bus. I was in the locker room. I was at all the games, and so it just meant from at a really young age, I developed a love and a passion for the game, and it was at a certain point, it was the only thing that I really knew. And obviously, then as I got a little bit older, uh, his ability to motivate me, encourage me, challenge me in the right ways, and help a young little boy who loved to play to help him, to help me uh, grow and develop and continue to become a better and better player, and to always make sure that I was loving the game and enjoying every part of it. That part I was really lucky with.
Before I ask my question, I hear you have dogs. Do you have dogs?
Yes, I do have a dog.
Wait, what type of dogs do you have?
His name is Alfie, and he's a Brewer Terrier.
Oh, wow. I don't even know what that
Yeah, I've
is.
never heard of that. Is it like a
Wow.
big dog?
No, he's little. He's little. He's like 5 or 6 pounds. When we get off, you'll have to Google, and you can see what you'll get an idea. He's a sweetheart.
Too cute. Oh,
Oh, oh my
we just saw
God.
a picture. Oh, very cute. Aw. Okay, hit
Okay.
Italy.
What clubs or coaches had the biggest influence on your development?
Really good question. Um, so if I talk about how when I was little and when I was your age, that soccer in the United States was completely different. One of the things that was different was without any, without the internet and without social media and without, all of the things that you're so lucky to have grown up with, we didn't get to watch a lot of soccer. The at that time you got normally 2 games a week on TV from Europe in the United States. You'd get a Champions League game, one Champions League game on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then you got one Serie A game from Italy on Sunday morning. And at that time, the best team in Italy was AC Milan. And so typically every Sunday at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning on Rye, AC Milan would be on, and so I would, that was one of 2 games that we'd get all week, and so I would make sure that I was ready and watching every week. And then obviously at that time, AC Milan also had a lot of success in the Champions League, and so it also meant that a lot of times on Tuesday or Wednesday, they'd be the team that they would show in Champions League. So I grew up loving AC Milan. I grew up watching their teams. I grew up watching their midfielders. My dad took his Princeton University team on a spring trip to Italy in 1993. So I was 6 years old, uh, 5 years old actually. I hadn't even turned six, and I got to go with him, and we went to San Siro to see 2 matches. We got to go to Milanello, which is their training facility, and see a little bit, and so it was for a young boy who loved the game and who had watched this team, it was incredible. And then the following year in 1994, um, during the World Cup, Italy was in New Jersey because they played a few matches at Giant Stadium, and so they were training. I believe it was at Pingree.
Piggery?
Yeah,
Oh, my friend goes to that school.
we were able to go and watch their national team train, which had a lot of the same players as AC Milan at that time. And so for me, though, that was AC Milan and Italy and some of those players. Those were my earliest. Those were some of my earliest role models and heroes, and so that that's always special for me to think back on and remember some of those times.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, did you play in Italy as well?
I did. I played 1 year at Chievo Verona, and then I played for a year and a half at Roma.
So, what was it like to grow up loving an Italian team and then to be playing over there?
It was special for sure. Like I said, I grew up watching Serie A, and then to have the opportunity to go and play in that league. Um, Italy's an incredible country.
It's my favorite. I love Italy.
Of all the places I played, I would say Italians Italians love football, and they are so passionate, so uh, emotional, and their love for the game comes out in in every single game, every day. Like that part is unique, and so I loved my experiences in Italy. My son was born there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was born in Rome, so it's
So nice to say. I was born in Rome.
those were really good experiences.
Stemming off of that, what was the biggest adjustment when you moved abroad at such a young age?
The biggest thing is just the when you move away from home when you're still so young, the part of now growing up quickly, and realizing that um it's not always it's not always going to be easy. There's going to be hard days. There're going to be days where you're a little bit lonely. There's going to be days where you're a little bit homesick. There's going to be days where you don't train as well as you would like. There's going to be days where you don't get to play, where there's going to be a period where maybe a certain coach doesn't think you're quite as good, or doesn't um, doesn't see you fitting into the team in the exact same way that you see it. And so you just quickly realize that if you want to continue to push yourself forward, if you want to continue to move to higher and higher levels, that your mentality has to be so strong, and you have to you the foundation is the love for the game, because it ultimately that passion and that love for the game is what takes you back every single day. Because for any player at any age, anywhere in the world, there are always hard days. There's always days that have you down or frustrated or upset. And the most important thing again is just the mentality to keep going and to keep going and to keep fighting, to keep understanding that um, the path is never it's never straight up. There's always these little ups and downs, but if you can keep going, then eventually you'll find your way up. So that was when I left home. I left home at a really young age to go to the U.S. Soccer residency program in Bradenton, at IMG Academy. So that I was like 15 when I did that, and then I spent like 2 years there, and then had a period of time playing for the Metro Stars in this area. And then when I was 18, then I had the opportunity to go to Holland, to go to Europe. And so, yeah, those were important periods for me in terms of my growth as a player, but also as a person.
I guess stemming off of that, what you just said, how did you handle setbacks, injuries, not being selected, and criticism? And how can young players build the same resilience?
The starting point is understanding that it's never perfect for anybody, and that as hard as you think it is for yourself, as down or as disappointed as you can get sometimes, um, the best players in the world, in any sport, in any profession, if you want to be really good at something, you have to go through hard times. You have to be challenged. You have to be put out of your comfort zone. And it's in those moments when you get to really test yourself. You get to test your mentality. So what does that mean? It means that you get to test how strong you are here. You get to test how strong you are here, how much you love the game, how determined and how committed you are to really doing everything you can to get better. And so it's you know every player takes a different path. There's no there's no roadmap that says, okay, if you want to be a really good player, you have to do this, and then you have to do that, and then from there you do this. No. Every single player in the world takes their is on their own journey, takes a different path, and if somebody, I read this somewhere sometime, and it always resonated with me that if you love to play and if you love the game, there's always somewhere to play. Always.
I love that.
If you think about it, it's true. Like, sure, there might come a moment where a certain team says, "No, we want to move on. We're gonna look at some other players right now," or maybe you're out of contract, and you're ready for a different uh, environment. But ultimately, if you love to play, if you love the game, you can always find there's always a game somewhere for you. And so that part is that's the beauty of it.
Yes,
Yeah, I feel like that should be written down like in our house, and we look at that
every
every day
day.
as you grow. What you just said seems to be a like a theme. Like every one of our guests have said, like it's just not a one-way journey. Like there's going to be, twists and turns and setbacks and movement and all of that kind of stuff. Do you think for the kids that aren't playing in an academy, are they behind the curve in not being seen, or do you think it's all the same opportunities?
I think as parents, what do we want to try to do? We want to try to have our kids in the best possible environment for them as much as we can. But ultimately, what that environment looks like is going to be a little bit different for every kid, you know? And so the part of being, you know, on a team or out at training every night with other good players where the coach you feel good about the coaching and where you feel like the environment is still competitive and you feel like now your son or daughter is still is being challenged, is able to improve, but ultimately is still having fun. You know, that like when I talk about mentality or the ability to deal with setbacks, as young players go on in their move along in their career, the challenges and the setbacks in some ways get harder, and you're only able to deal with them if you really love the game. And so I think as parents, again, the idea that we're trying to find the best environments for our kids, yeah, that's so important, but there's still that still has to be balanced with the 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 joy and the love for the game. And so to answer your question, for some kids, sure, that'll be in an academy or at an MLS academy. For other kids, that might be in a, you know, at a good club team. Like that in the end, the no final decisions are getting made on anybody at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. I promise. If you love the game and if you're determined to keep improving and to keep getting better, this is what I mean when I say everybody takes a different path. And so the part of um, where you play, what league you play in, um, it has to fit. It has to fit you.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
think that's so important to hear. Especially, it's like that time of year too, where there is a lot of cuts going on and a lot of,
Trying out.
yeah, kids trying out. And if you don't make it, on this team, it doesn't mean, it's over. You're going to have the opportunity.
There's always another game.
So this is like a series of questions.
Great.
What was it like to play in the World Cup?
The World Cup is amazing. It is. It's pretty simple. The World Cup is you when you get the chance to play in a World Cup, you genuinely feel like the whole world is at a standstill, and you feel like the entire world is watching. And to stand on the field at a World Cup before a game and to hear your national anthem and to stand there and to hear, like, to feel that is, yeah, that would be yes, magical is a very good word. That would that those some of those moments would be at the absolute top for me in terms of best moments and best days in my career.
Another one is, what was it like to win the MLS Cup?
That was really special too. When I made the decision to go back to come back to MLS and to go to Toronto, um, obviously a lot of people had strong opinions about that. But I was so determined and really excited by the opportunity of trying to build something different, something special at that club in Toronto. And obviously, it took some time. It took a lot of hard work. We had to fall on our face a few times. The year before, we lost in the final in the same stadium to the same team in penalties. And so then when that group of players, when that team was able to uh, stick at it and keep going and just be so committed and so motivated to give ourselves a chance at redemption, Then a year later, in the same stadium against the same team, when we were able to then win, that was that was an incredible night.
Oh, I'm
It's
sure.
shocking.
Wow. So you had mentioned people had a lot of thoughts about you coming over to the MLS or coming back to the MLS. Why is that?
On one hand, it's probably a good thing. It means that or it meant that the game, the profile of the game is continuing to grow in the United States, and there's fans and there's passion and people have strong opinions about what they think is best. Um, I think it was an interesting time because, there was a lot of discussion about, how good is MLS, MLS versus Europe, where should our best players be playing? Um, so it's all normal, when you sign up for this, you realize that part of it is that everybody's always going to have an opinion.
No matter what in
Yeah.
life, everyone has an opinion.
Exactly. And if you spend all your time worried about what other people are saying or what other people are thinking, then you're going to waste a lot of time. And so I was lucky. I learned that or started to learn that at a really young age, and it just meant that as I got older and as I grew, as I went on with my career, that I always had a pretty good ability to do what I think was best and to concentrate on the things that mattered most to me and not worry about what anybody else was saying.
Were there any non-soccer habits or routines that helped you maintain longevity and success in your career?
For sure, as I got older, I mean, no young professional has all of the answers or has everything figured out in terms of their routine, in terms of what works best for them, the habits. But those are things that you start to develop when you're young, and then it means that as you get older and as those things then become even more important, you feel like you have a pretty good grip on it. And so I found as I got older in my career, I found good ways to take care of myself, to make sure that, the everything that I did, from what I ate to how much I slept to what I drank to what I didn't drink to, the my routine before training, after training, the people that I put around me to help take care of my body. Like I found good ways to handle all that, and injuries happen, for everybody. It's just trying to keep them as few as possible and make sure that the ones that do come are as small as possible. And so in my career, I for the most part, I was lucky. I also think that a lot of the things that I did helped to create my own luck in that sense. But yeah, it's an important part of having a long career.
We heard, I think it was a coach that we had on, and did he use the term holistic approach? I
Oh
feel
yeah,
like that's
yeah.
what taking care of your nutrition and your body and sleep. Did you ever do things like the ice baths and even like the light therapy beds? I know like a lot of NFL players use those. What else? Like yoga? I don't know. Did you ever do things like that?
Yeah, I mean, ice baths for sure. In different moments of my career, I did a lot of like contrast with ice tubs and then the hot tubs. Cryotherapy, infrared saunas, yeah, in certain moments, some yoga, some Pilates. And it wasn't to say I did all of those things all the time. I went through different periods of my career where I thought, you know what, this is working or this is helping me a lot. And then in certain moments, I'd find other things that I felt like helped more. And so it's you're constantly looking at everything that you do. How do you feel, and trying to tweak little things so that you're at your best.
At 16, you signed with the Metro Stars. How did that opportunity come about, and what advice would you give to young players facing similar decisions?
So like I mentioned, I had the opportunity when I was 14 years old to go down to IMG Academy in Bradenton as a part of the U.S. Soccer residency program. And it was a different time. MLS teams didn't have academies, and so we were all just trying to find the best clubs that we could and play for them and get better and improve. And then US Soccer had this residency program where they would take 30 players and try to help develop them to be the next under 17 national team for the under 17 World Cup. And so I had the opportunity to do that. I spent 2 years down there. We were on an accelerated program in high school, so I was able to finish high school. And then from there, I got offered the opportunity to sign. At the time, it was called Project 40. Now they call it Generation Adidas. So I got the opportunity to sign a Project 40 contract, and then I was drafted by the Metro Stars. Um, and so for me, that was the realization of a dream, and it was something that I had wanted. I had wanted to do since I for as long as I could remember. Um, what would I say to other kids making that decision? That in the end you have to follow your own heart and you have to do what you think is best. There's again, we've talked about it a few times. There's no right answer with everything. There's no just because you go here doesn't guarantee this, and just because you go there doesn't guarantee that. Like you think things through, you talk with your parents, you talk with your family, people close to you, and then in the end you make a decision and you go all in. You give everything you have, you try to make the absolute best of it, and if you're able to do that, then you'll end up where you're supposed to.
I love that.
Yeah.
Go all in. I'm going to end on this note. As a parent, now yourself, what role do you think parents should play in supporting their child's soccer journey?
The biggest thing for me is the part it's probably two things. The first is understanding that the experiences that the game will give your child are experiences that they'll keep with them for their whole life. And in the end, whether they reach this level or that level or the next level, like that, in the end, like the part of being on a team, the part of responsibility, the part of being able to commit to something, to go all in, to give everything you have, to push yourself, to challenge yourself, to be uncomfortable. Like those are the things that really count. Those are the things that will help shape. Those are things that help shape me, and I feel strongly that again, those are the things that will help shape any child who's involved in youth soccer or youth sports. And then the second part is to go with that is that they're kids and they should get in the car after training and after games. And most times, and there's always the exceptions, but most times, like by the time you get home, they should be excited about going back to training or back to the game the next day. And it shouldn't be something that is so serious or is so full of pressure that now your child is losing that passion and that joy for the game. Because again, if they don't if we're not helping them develop the love for the game and the passion and the ability to express themselves on a field and play with personality, then it doesn't matter what level they get to in the short run. They're not gonna the long run. It's not gonna work in the long run.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I so agree. Yeah. Yeah. If that love doesn't come from the child, there's no way they're ever going to make it to play college or wherever they want to go.
Exactly.
Hey, real quick before we let you go, when he mentioned his dad, your dad coached at Princeton, right?
Yes.
Does your dad know Shep Messing?
Yeah, he would know Shep. We both know Shep pretty well.
Yeah. Oh my God, we had him on the show and we love him. He's such a trip.
Shep's a good guy, really good guy.
He's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Hopefully, we have the chance to meet you in person. I don't know, Lee, have you ever met Michael?
I know my dad has.
I talk to your dad a lot, and I see you out there training and working hard, and so our paths will cross again soon.
Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds good. Well, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
That sounds great. Enjoy the pool party, Liam.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.